Good afternoon. Today we're going to be talking about a movie that has become a milestone in all the suspense fans. Indeed, this is the masterpiece of the master of suspense. I'm talking about Sir Alfred Hitchcock and his movie Psycho. The movie begins with Marion, a regular worker, who steals her boss to afford her wedding with her groom, Sam. A cop is intrigued by her nervous behavior when she gets out of the office. So she gets into her car and runs as fast as she can in order to hide away at a motel. Once at the room, she hides the money in a newspaper. The owner, a mysterious guy, discusses with her mom about inviting her dinner. Then he tells her his mom is obsessed with him. Marion decides there to give the money back, but then, on trying to get ready for taking a shower, she has a hunch that something is not going to be okay. But anyway, she just tries to avoid all bad thoughts and bad hunches and takes a shower. On the process, she's stabbed to death by Norman dressed as her mom, Norma. Back as himself, Norman panics of seeing blood, cleans it all up, and hides the corpse in the car at the swamp near the hotel. Marion's sister, Lila, arrives at Fairville and confronts Sam about Marion's whereabouts. Then, noticing that she has drawn a blank, Sleuth Arbogast is hired and tells them that Marion's being looked for stealing $40,000. The detective goes to the motel and questions Norman's doubtful answers. Then, on looking for Norman's mom, a shadow stabs him to death. Sam and Lila, Marion's sister, see a shadow and assume she is Norma, the owner of the hotel. But the sheriff tells them that Norma died 10 years ago. Then, thinking that Arbogast is ill, they visit the motel. Norman hides his mom's corpse in a fruit cellar. Having been grilled by their questions, Norman beats Sam and seeks Lila, who discovers Norman's mom is mummified in a wheelchair. Then, Norman, disguised as Norma, his mom, runs into the cellar, and before he can stop her, Sam beats him and then carries his fainted body to the madhouse. Psychiatrist tells them that Norman killed Miss Bates, his mom, and her lover in an act of jealousy. Then, in remorse and guilt, he took the corpse out of the grave, dressed her, and used to interact with her as she was still alive. Jealous Norma has a behavioral pattern that kills every woman Norman falls in love with. But then we can hear a mom's voice protesting that murders were Norman's doing. That is the cliche of the whole story, because it is a clue for trying to understand the damaged psyche of Norman's, as he hasn't overcome the trauma of having killed his mom in order to get his deep desires shown on its freakish side effects. The film ends with Marion's car towed from the swamp. This movie has a deep and psychological message that relies on human condition and tries to give a leitmotif for the ones that may try to justify their crime or their criminal behavior, their wrongdoing, in other words. So, either this criminal, as we may see Norman, is not a criminal with a wild motive or with a wild aim. Indeed, he's a man deeply traumatized by the events of the past and that is trying to get it all out in order to relieve himself of the pain and the emotional burden that he has gone through. This movie is considered the best ever made by Alfred Hitchcock. Sir Alfred Hitchcock, who, as I said before, is considered the master of suspense. Indeed, a spin-off movie was released some years after the original release of Hitchcock's. It is said that Norman Bates is based on a real serial killer, Ed Gein, which is one of the most famous serial killers in all American history. As I said, either Bates Motel is a series that has acted like a spin-off for all the causes and the real consequences of what Psycho might have caused and what might have caused Psycho's plot. I really recommend you to see this series if you want to understand a little more deeper. Well, indeed, I'm sorry, this is just a grammatical mistake, but either. If you wanna go deeper and focus yourself deeper onto the whole story, I do recommend you to see Bates Motel in order to understand it all. Yeah, and thanks for hearing.